everybody, and in today's video I have sort of like a first impressions review based on the new Urban Decay All Nighter Liquid Foundations. Urban Decay actually sent me over a few of their shades to try. I have 5.0 and 4.5 to try today. So what I'm going to do is just go through a little bit of information based around these foundations first of all, and then I'll go ahead and apply them and then show you what my makeup looks like with like my entire makeup completed, and just so you guys can see how it looks on my skin and whether or not it is worth the money and stuff like that. So the foundation itself retails for £27 and it comes in 4, 8, 12, 16, 20, 24 shades, and all of them range from very pale to quite deep and dark as well. Here's just a wee preview on my phone of just these shades. As you can see, there is quite a lot of colours, which is also really good because that's what I really like when brands bring out foundations in a ton of different colours, because it proves that they're wanting to cater to everyone. And yeah, pretty much. So as far as I'm aware, the point shades, which is like say for example 5.0, 6.0, 8.0, are all of them more kind of yellowy tone colours, which are more of like what I like to wear because I wear fake tan quite a lot, and they're kind of more of just like a warmy undertone. And then the 0.5 shades are the more cooler undertone with a more kind of pinky tone to them, which will cater more towards people that have just a more cooler kind of undertone in their skin and don't really wear as much fake tan, etc. And then the 0.25 shades are like a mix of the both, which are just more of a neutral colour. So I have two shades here just to show you. I have 5.0 and 4.5, and I'll just compare them just together just so you can see kind of the shades and stuff. So as you can see here from the swatches, the bottom one is 5.0, which is the colour that I'm going to go for today just because it will match my skin a lot better. And then you have 4.5, which is the more, it's kind of like a paler shade, only it is a lot more pinky tone. So here's a close-up of the packaging of the box the foundation comes in. On the box it says that the All Nighter Liquid Foundation is full coverage, long wear, matte finish, waterproof and oil free. So it has quite a lot of claims, and then it also has quite a lot of writing based on the back of the packaging, just pretty much about how amazing the foundation is supposed to be. And then the actual foundation itself looks like this. I absolutely adore the packaging. I love how you can see the colour through the packaging, and it's kind of like 3D, like the way it's kind of like the packaging sits out from the actual product inside. And then I also like how it's like a really nice lid, it's got a pump, and I just adore the packaging. I think it's really, really gorgeous. So what I'm going to do is apply a primer to one side of my face and then keep the other side completely bare, just so that I can see whether or not the foundation likes being with a primer or whether or not it performs better without a primer. So I'm going to apply the primer to this side of my face. This primer is just the Stila One Step Correct kind of skin correcting fluid serum thing. So what I'm going to do is just put this on my skin. I love kind of serum based primers just because my skin would be more on the dry side, and I just love kind of having really nice moisturized skin before I put foundation on. So as I mentioned at the start of the video, I am going to be using the shade 5.0 just because you can see my skin and stuff is a little bit more yellow tone just because of my fake tan, and I feel this shade would be perfect for my skin tone. So what I'm going to do is do one pump on my hand first of all, and then that'll give me a rough guide on how much more product I'm going to need, or whether or not a pump is completely fine to cover my entire face. So whenever you pump some under your hand, it's not a really intensely thick foundation. As you can see, it is running, but it's not also a really thin foundation either. So what I'm going to do is just dot some of this onto my skin, and this colour is a little bit pale for me, but I am going to obviously bronze it up with some bronzer and stuff. But I really wanted to try and get this video done just so you guys can see how well this foundation applies and stuff, and whether or not it's worth spending £27 on. So I have my foundation brush here, and I also have my sponge. I'm going to alternate between the two just to see which way it applies best, whether or not with a brush or with a sponge. So what I'm going to do is just start blending the foundation in with my brush first of all, and already I can tell that it is very full coverage. As you can see, that was one section of my face is like completely covered now. I'll zoom you guys in just so you can see a little bit more. The redness and stuff around my nose has been completely covered. It is a very full coverage foundation, I can automatically tell that. The shade is actually not too bad. It actually blends really nicely. It actually like matches my neck pretty well, and with a brush it actually blends really nicely. So I think I'm just going to kind of stick to using a brush first of all, and then blend it like at the very end just with a beauty blender. I feel like if you're in a rush you could totally get away with using this foundation without any concealer, because as you can see it's really covered underneath my eyes and stuff. It's actually blended in really, really nicely into my skin, and it actually doesn't feel heavy at all. Even though it was quite thick, it didn't feel too heavy. And then what I like to do is just go in with my beauty blender just to further press it into my skin. So with the primer underneath, it seemed to have blended perfectly. There was no issue whatsoever. So let's see how well the foundation applies without a primer. So now that I have the foundation completely applied and pressed into my skin with my beauty blender, I can definitely tell that both sides applied exactly the same with regards to a primer or not. But I feel like whenever you have a primer down, the foundation lasts a little bit longer. So even though the foundation applies pretty much the exact same on both sides, I feel like applying a primer just would help benefit the foundation a little bit more in regards to lasting a little bit longer as well. So if you're going to get this foundation, I would recommend using a primer with it. and this Silo one worked really well with it, I thought. However, one thing I have noticed with this foundation is I feel like it does slightly oxidize. Whenever you put it under your skin, it looks quite pale, and then whenever you kind of let it sit there for a second, it does get a little bit darker. So because of that, I would recommend getting maybe like a half a shade or a shade lighter than what you would normally go for, because initially I thought it was going to be too light, but now it actually matches me quite well, so I would recommend going for a shade lighter with this foundation. Okay, so what I've done is went ahead and done the rest of my base makeup. I'll just run through quickly what I used. So for my concealer, I used the Makeup Forever Ultra HD Concealer in the shade R30. I set my under eye concealer and the rest of my face with my Laura Mercier translucent powder. I contoured and bronzed my skin with the Kiko Radiant Fusion Bronzer in 06. I used the NYX Baked Blusher in Chiffon to blush up my cheek. And then for highlighters today, I used the Makeup Forever highlighter in 01, which is the more pinky toned one, which is absolutely gorgeous, guys. Like, look at this. It's amazing. So for my skin, I definitely felt before I powdered my skin, it was kind of more of like a semi-matte finish. It wasn't like completely flat matte, but it still had a nice little kind of glow to it, which I prefer, which I would normally prefer. But then of course, whenever I set my powder and stuff on it, it did go very matte looking, and it did kind of start to look a little bit cakey and more kind of thick on my skin. But whenever I done my contour and bronzing and stuff, it all came together, and I feel it looks pretty decent on my skin right now. It no longer feels tacky on my skin, it just feels perfectly fine. All of my other powder products blended really nicely into it as well, and so far I'm really liking it. I feel like it looks really flawless on my skin, and the colour actually matched me really nicely, and I don't know, I think it looks really pretty, and so far I would totally recommend it. So if you're kind of like the same sort of skin tone as me, I would recommend the 5.0 shade. So what I'm going to do now is go ahead and do the rest of my makeup, and then I'll check back in and let you guys know if it looks the exact same or whether it's wore off in like the next half an hour, which I highly doubt, because it does feel like a really kind of heavy duty foundation. But so far I'm really liking it. So guys, now I have my full makeup complete, and if you're wondering what eyelashes I'm wearing, there are my eyelashes in the style Accentuate, and they are available to purchase on the top line of the description. I will leave the link in the description box below. They are available, so if you're wanting them, go and check them out. These are definitely becoming one of my new favourites. I've been loving these just because they're so, like, they make your eye makeup look so much nicer or something. I just love how they're nice and fluffy and fluttery and gorgeous. So if you're wanting to purchase, I will leave the link in the description box below. So overall, with my entire makeup and stuff done, this foundation is one of my new favourites. I can definitely tell, like, it isn't going to budge, it doesn't feel oily on my skin. I love the fact that it's oil free as well. I was kind of scared of the fact that it was oil free, because sometimes oil free foundations can kind of cling to like my dry patches on my skin, because I would have more normal to dry skin, so I would kind of go for foundations which are more hydrating and dewy and stuff. But this one actually looks amazing, and it's definitely kind of changed my opinion based on matte and oil free foundations. I've been really liking it. And in the description box below, guys, I will leave kind of like an update in like the next few hours of how this foundation lasts on my skin, because in the next few hours I am going to be going out and stuff, so whenever I edit the description box, I will be able to put in like how well it looks on my skin, whether it's faded or not, or whether or not it looks really perfect and pretty still. So that's pretty much everything I want to say about that foundation. I've been absolutely loving it, and if you're wanting to purchase it, I will leave a link in the description box if you're interested. So guys, if you want me to do any more kind of reviews or anything like that, definitely let me know in the comments, and don't forget to give this video a big thumbs up if you enjoyed it, and I will see you in my next one. Bye!